All right, so class change is coming in season 4. The buffs and nerfs. Let's go.
Okay. So we've got kind of 3 big goals for
high volume
of
class updates.
I'm going to try and breeze through a little quick in the interest of time. The first one is going through a very high volume of meaningful class updates. And what I mean by meaningful is, not just moving numbers up and down on things that exist, but kind of either updating systems of how things interact.
Maybe some new skills and uniques.
Or adding things that are really, really powerful and are actually going to move the needle and change how you interact with the class or the skill or the legendary or whatever we're changing. Next one is making flat damage effects more viable. So by flat damage, I'm talking about things like dust devils, earthquakes, dancing bolts, all these things. I talked a few campfire chats ago about how I wanted to make these things like a lot more viable and scale better, and we're going to be making good on that in season 4. I'm excited. We'll go into more details.
The marksman one's actually pretty good. That shoots down like some arrows.
And last but not least,
if it gets buffed up,
to be more generally useful. So kind of similar to item affixes, how you've got these like multi-conditional things. We're going through classes across the board and going and looking for ways that we can open up things. So you're going to find that things that were a little more restrictive, we're going to try and interact with more different pieces. So something may have only talked to core skills, now it can be any skill, things like that. Where we're trying to make things less conditional so that you can mix and match things a lot more often. So, yeah, in addition to those 3 things, those are our goals. I'm also going to be talking a little bit today about PTR balance and hardcore updates. And a little PSA, everything that you see here right now, the tuning is still in flux. We're going through the balancing process right now of these things. So any exact numbers that you see of updates is very much subject to change, not only before PTR, but of course one of our goals for you playing PTR is helping us with the tuning and balance because everything is going to be changing. So, yeah, expect things to change, but that's kind of where we're at right now. So, first, let's talk about
brand new unique.
So
let's screenshot it.
Double the normal amount of uniques added to the game. Normally, every class gets 1. Every class is going to be getting 2 this time. So, again, more content.
Every class.
We're also adding a new Uber unique here,
A
Tyrael's
new
Might.
Uber unique.
This is a defensive-oriented unique. It's going to be a chess piece. So you can see the stats there. Lots of resistance-oriented things and damage reduction. By the way, in this new world, damage reduction is going to be much harder to come by. So it's actually a lot more special that it exists here. And the special power of this is that when you're at maximum life, so when you have the entire life bar full,
you just get artillery.
You're going to be shooting out projectiles, very similar
to
the
artillery, right?
Shrine.
Yeah, okay.
So you can see here kind of in action, you can see that sometimes he's attacking and it's not going off, and then as he heals up, you get those...
so while you're at full life, which means maybe just barriers, guys. Barriers on all the classes might be a thing.
Before, we're really looking to move the needle on these. We are still going to be having a number of changes, quite a few of just things going up and down for tuning. But we're also looking at updating some systems and designs. And I'm going to give you some examples. Now, everything I talk about here today, I'm giving you a small snippet of the things that we're doing, like 1 or 2 examples per class. But when you get the patch notes, you're going to see it's like a giant wall. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing everywhere.
Just a slice of the overall pie.
Yeah. So, some examples here. Skill tag updates. So we're not only doing this on the Sorceress, but on other classes as well. But this is the example I want to give. One of the pain points that Sorceress has always had is that they have kind of core skills and then mastery skills. Mastery skills are things like Firewall, Meteor, things like that. And the mastery skills, we're always kind of second class to the core skills because we had a lot of things that scaled core skill damage, but not mastery skill damage. So we've updated our skill tags and kind of changed things around so that they make more sense. So you're going to see more skill tags added to things.
The minions 100% is crazy.
Mastery skills
it used to be
10%. The core skill tag.
So minions are 10 times as strong.
All your core skill damage bonuses, interactions, all that stuff will just work now. Did you have something?
Yeah, we also talked about like mobility skill tag added to a lot of skills as well, and how that interacts with the tempering system. You have ways of getting mobility skill cooldown reduction that ties into the same concept.
We're actually adding the mobility skill tag to all things across all classes that have mobility attached to them, so then they can interact with the itemization system, and you'll have these things working in tandem together. That's a good point. Yeah, so now some other examples. Frozen Orb on the Sorceress is getting a lot of love. Before, when you cast it, it would go an exact set distance and then blow up, but now it's going to go exactly where you point it at it to with your cursor. So you're
that's good for the explosion.
If you run into like a suppressor elite, for example, you can actually make it fire point blank or all the way across the screen. And we'll actually be showing some video of that as well later.
That's actually a pretty massive buff for the
That's really
aspect.
Awesome. So
pop
Frozen
twice.
Sorceresses are going to be really happy this season.
I think I'm going to make that.
I've been talking for a while about Necromancer minions and how we're going to make them better. We're delivering on that in Season 4. The first 100%. Change is that they're going to inherit 100% of the player's
golems
stats.
are going to be so crazy.
So, your crit chance, crit damage, all those things, they're just going to inherit it from you, so they're going to scale way better with you.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be actually crazy.
This is not only going to apply to Necromancer minions, but all minion types in our game. Things like Druid Wolves are also going to be inheriting this, and you're going to get a pretty big power.
I wonder about the...
we're also looking... We took a look at...
the sword summons, too.
A look at the Book of the Dead, and basically revamped everything. All the upgrades almost are getting some type of either number or big functionality change, and I'm going to be going through some examples there. But it's just going to be a lot more punchy. We're not only looking for effectiveness here, like making things stronger, but we also like the rule of cool, where the things that are awesome and look cool and are visual are going to stand out more. And so we're trying to do that as much as we can. So next, let's talk about game balance. So as I kind of alluded to earlier, the landscape of everything is changing pretty drastically, right? Itemization is going to be changing a lot of how player power works and how things work in the game. We've got a lot of class updates that are going to be changing how things are. You can expect a pretty big shakeup of like just how all the different classes and builds perform. Like it's going to be a brave new world really here. But normally we promised a while back that we're going to do lists of everything that's perceived as a nerf. I'm not going to be going through every single thing today. You'll be able to see everything in the patch notes on the PTR, and that's mostly in the interest of time, just because there's so much change that's happening. But I am going to give you, a snippet to do good on that.
It's okay, guys. I'll make that video, and I'll go over all the changes. You can expect they're going to be lowered in power in the future. So some examples here. Generally, Tybalt's Will, everyone's favorite pants, right? And not only is it really good because the effect is good, but also it's damage on pants, which makes it really, really good. That damage amount is being reduced. Same with Banished Lord's Talesman. Both of these uniques are insanely powerful. They're still going to be really good after this, but the damage is just being lowered so that other things can be competitive. Okay.
Next, the Barbarian, everybody's favorite charging class. First thing that we're doing is, many of you may not know this, but when we launched the game, we actually gave them 10% inherent damage reduction. This was back when melee classes in general and the Barbarian were having trouble in the early game. Our game balance has changed radically since then, and we don't feel like they really need this anymore. And we don't want them to have an inherent advantage over all the other classes in the game anymore.
Rip the Hoda charge, Barb.
Be removed, and even like I mentioned before when Charles was talking, damage
and Unbridled Rage nerf
is going to be much
probably
more
still
rare
doesn't
and
matter
special.
though.
You're not just going to find it on any defensive stat. When you see it, it's going to be something that you're going to really value because it's hard to come by. And we also think Barbarians are still going to be really good in this regard because they're skill
honestly
tree
every class is going to be OP.
Their skills like challenging shout have it, so I think they're going to be fine. But we're just removing.
I mean, you gave minions 10x damage.
Also, we're reducing the effectiveness of charge.
Everything's gonna be good.
Unbridled Rage. All three of these things have been incredibly powerful. Some things like Unbridled Rage have kind of been stamping out competing things for a long time just because it's so good. Our goal here is not to remove these from the game or make these builds not viable at all. They're going to be reduced, but I still think they're going to be really powerful and effective.
Yeah, because Barb has 4 weapons. Like it's. And you get the tempered affects and mastery.
Bug fixes here.
Okay.
We have more bug fixes than this.
Oh, so that teleport nerf.
That I wanted to call out. The first one we had one where the
kind of sad about
affix was triggering off of unstable currents casts. And so what this basically meant was you equipped.
But you could still run it.
I'll
show you guys how.
And you had like infinite uptime on teleport evades.
Because you still get the aspect to apply, and you still get the extra attacks. What is it?
Intentional cast now as it was intended to.
Crit chance, so you still get 100%. So it doesn't matter.
This is a key passive on the sorcerer that used to apply its critical strike damage to all damage types, but it was the fire key passive. Now it's only going to apply to fire damage as it was intended to. And again, this is just.
It doesn't matter. If you still get Essus, you still get 100% crit.
And again, like everything you know is basically going to
pair it with the boots, easy 100% crit. So I'm going to make Essus with the Frozen Orb build. I think that's what I want to do.
Class updates. So I'm going to be going through all the different classes.
Yeah, minions get 10x damage.
Like 1 to 2 examples of kind of the ideas of things that we're changing. Again,
not like 10x multiplicative. I mean like actually 10 times the damage.
What to expect in the direction that we're going here. So first we'll start with the Barbarians.
Okay.
So I like Dust Devils. I've liked them for a long time, and not just things like Dust Devils, but all those types of extra affixes that spawn things. So here's an example of Wind Slasher. This is a legendary that we updated. So it's the double swing legendary that spawns Dust Devils. Before it was you would cast double swing twice, and you like go in and out and in and out, and every other time you'd make a Dust Devil, right? Pretty cool. We're updating this now, so every single time that you cast double swing, it does a Dust Devil. And instead of every other time spawning 1, every other time spawns 3. So now instead of going hit then 1 then hit,
and then you
one,
just add more
1 then
projectiles.
3 then 1 then 3, which means a
It's
lot
pretty
more
cool,
dust
man.
devils.
And I want to call it again. There's tempered affixes that give you chances to spawn additional dust devils when you spawn a dust devil.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
affixes that talk to them directly in itemization with tempering, like their size can go up, their damage can go up. Like we're actually going to make this a thing.
I know I'm talking
This
a
is
lot
literally
about
just
dust
Path
devils.
of Exile, but I like it. It's
It's
good.
Earthquakes,
It's just that I
it's
played
desecrated
a lot
ground.
of dust devils.
It's awesome, man.
So,
It's the example I tell our team. It's like always I say earthquakes and dust devils. Like these things need to be cool, and all the ones like that though across the other classes. Anyways, that's the Barb.
Great
so
changes,
There's not
though.
just this, lots of other
All right,
legendaries
let's
are
see.
like this. Druid, for example, a thing that has been long complained about to me is that lacerate isn't up to par to other things. So there on the left is what you can see exists today, where the upgrades for lacerate are, the first one is you heal for a little bit for every hit, and then it's doubled when you crit. And then the next upgrade is that its initial strike crits and does a little bit more damage. We're just merging those together. So both of those combined is going to be your first lacerate upgrade. And now we added a second upgrade there, where every time that lacerate crits, all of your shape-shifting skills are going to deal more damage for 10 seconds, up to 40%. So now we're adding a very strong, potent, multiplicative damage bonus buff after lacerate. So now, lacerate, it's going to give you invulnerability, life leech, crit, and then a potent damage buff for a while after you cast it. So then if you can get cooldown reduction on it, you can keep that buff rolling and actually have like a build going on.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that skill like never
the
got
Sorceress.
used.
So
It
here,
was super
instead of just
underwhelming.
text, I'm actually going to show you some videos. The first one is going to be showing that frozen orb change that we talked about here. So basically, you can see here that where the person is targeting with their cursor is where the frozen orb is going to explode. So now you can make it point blank, you can make it far away. It's going to be wherever you go. And for you controller players, this is going to interact just like other skills where
Dude, controller OP.
Enemy and
Yes!
nothing nearby,
Dude,
so
controller
it's just
confirmed
gonna blow it
OP
up.
for Frozen Orb.
Next,
It's
we're
actually a
talking about
really
the
big
unique.
deal.
So
Because now
prefacing
you
this
can
unique a
have
little bit before we show the
auto
video.
aim to pop whenever
The
it.
basic idea
you
is
want it to pop.
conjurations are cool and frozen orb is cool. And what's going to happen with this unique is
This
frozen
unique's
orb
gonna be
is
awesome,
to have a
guys.
chance when it explodes to spawn conjurations.
And the
then anytime
conjurations
that your
give
conjurations
orbs.
attack, they have a chance to throw frozen orbs at
Yes.
enemies. So now we're going to see this in action here. So it's called Fractured Winter Glass, and this video is just the person casting Frozen Orb with this unique.
Okay, my screenshot.
So at first it's like, okay, it's fine. You see a couple conjurations, right?
I don't know if the older
Then
one
as you
is
go
going to
on,
be the same.
you
so
can
let's
see that the Frozen Orbs are making more of them, and then the conjurations are also throwing out more Frozen Orbs.
This is all just from pressing one button.
This is all just from throwing
I
out
have
Frozen Orbs.
just been right-clicking this whole time.
Yeah, so it's like
Oh,
when
yeah,
I-
it is
when I
different than
place a
one we saw
firewall,
before.
My firewall makes a meteor. And my meteor makes a firewall.
Yes, but conjurations.
But conjurations, yeah, yeah.
But it's a lucky hit on conjuration, which is
Firewall
like
meteor sounds
super
cool.
low
Good, bad.
anyways.
Okay,
Fair
I got
enough.
an idea.
Stay focused.
But yeah, so this is an example of one of the cool uniques that we're adding to the game. Next, let's move on to the Rogue. So we're also updating some class mechanics and other things. Inner Sight has kind of been eclipsed by other things in our game, right?
Well, it's
When
because
we
they
first
they
made
nerfed
Inner
it
Sight,
in like season 0.
It triggered off of this idea that you were going to target a single enemy, pick on that enemy, and build up this gauge, and then you have unlimited energy. And unlimited energy was supposed to be this really crazy, rare thing that was not going to happen very often. It turned out that's not really the case through itemization and other things. You can kind of solve resource a lot easier nowadays.
Yeah, it's fun to do that too.
Yeah, and it's fun. We want people to do that. So
Yeah.
we have to update our other systems in accordance to that, which is kind of what we're doing here. So now you don't only have to hit the marked enemy, but you can charge up Inner Sight off of everything. So as you're blowing up waves of enemies, you still want to make sure you're hitting the one that's targeted, but now you'll get a little bit of gauge off of any enemy that you hit. And now in addition to that, the payoff is better. So not only are you going to get that unlimited energy,
I feel like
still,
it's
but you're
so
also
good
gonna
with
get a
pen
25%
shot.
crit chance.
Like if you
boost.
could just hit
Now
every
you're
single
gonna be
enemy.
hitting harder when you are in Inner Sight mode. So now there's actually a damage component there too.
I mean,
And then
25%
there's
crit
unlimited
is
energy.
pretty nice too, though. That's
Next,
great.
Necromancer. So like I said, Book of the Dead is getting upgrades. I kind of picked one slice from each part, from each minion type. So here you can see your Skeletal Reapers, the wind-up attacks now, can reduce one of your active cooldowns by a pretty chunky amount. 3 seconds is insane.
It's not even a
but we're looking at
chance.
number that'll
It's
make
just
sense,
straight
but
up
it is
3
great.
pro. Dude, this is gonna be
Next
insanely
one's
OP.
for the mages.
Holy,
You know,
that is
one of
gonna
their
be
upgrades used to
busted
that
for
they
Necro.
made frozen enemies vulnerable.
3
and now
seconds
you can
just
make
means
everything vulnerable.
infinite
So actually,
ult.
if you want cold mages to solve vulnerable for you, you pretty much can just with this upgrade.
That is
And last but not least, we have
huge.
your Iron Golem. So Iron Golem, now that when you tell it to go somewhere and do that slam attack where it pounds the ground, it'll also pull in enemies, very similar to Corpse Tendrils. So it's not as required.
That Reaper's
you
wind-up
put that on your
attack?
bar, you have another way to kind of get that.
100% like
Another thing I didn't put on the slide
required.
that I want to call out with golems that'll make players happy. Golem now, while you're CC'd or at any time, when you activate it, it's going to make both your golem and you unstoppable. Ooh. So now you have another source of unstoppable on the Necromancer for minion builds, which I think will make players really happy.
Yeah, it's a buddy cop situation.
You and your buddies going and taking people out.
That's right, I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome for a Golem-mancer build for sure.
Yeah. So next, like I was saying before, flat damage effects, dust devils, and earthquakes are going to be your friends now. So before, these legendaries did not scale very well. And what I mean by that is that the damage that they did was fixed. So if you got like a dust devil or earthquake or whatever, you got that legendary at like level 25, the damage that it did was just a number, and that number didn't really go up with you or scale with you in a meaningful way. Now, under the hood, all of these things are going to be scaling based off your weapon damage, which means that these things will scale with you as a player and be much more viable now.
Oh, they should show how much damage they actually deal. I mean, this doesn't really explain it.
I'm actually running this legendary right now, my lightning
storm. The number is higher, but...
So, you can see that, it's the same legendary on each side. This is me just changing out my weapon while I have this legendary equipped.
Well, the item is completely changed because one gives willpower.
On the left, about 5,400 there. Now, that number on the right, I didn't get a new legendary, I didn't change it, I didn't do anything except change my weapon, and that increased the damage that these dancing bolts are going to do.
But so I understand what he's trying to
do. Legendaries now, they're going to scale with you and do quite a bit more damage and be punchy as you go into the late game. This is in addition to like tempering and other things, talking to these things, so you can actually itemize into making them more powerful as well.
And it's funny because there's some people I think that didn't catch, maybe they didn't catch the first part of the itemization, but they're looking at this second legendary, the new one, and they're going like, wow, it's only got 3 stats or something. You should probably watch a recording of this.
Yeah, that's when it drops, not after you've done all your stuff on it.
There's a lot of itemization changes to make the items feel more valuable themselves in Season 4. So I recommend watching the recording just for people that may have missed the itemization or checking out our blog next week.
Yeah, you can separate 2 more affixes on them. There you go.
Yeah, they got 5.
That's right.
All right, so last but not least is opening up designs. Like I talked about, one of our goals here, make things more generally useful, less restrictions. We can zoom in here. I have 2 examples. One is Azurath here on the left, a unique sword. So 2 things going on here.
Instead of core skills, it's just all...
was that your core skills have a chance to freeze enemies and deal...
This is Barb only, though. This should be available on Rogue.
We removed the core skill requirement, and now any of your skills can have a chance to freeze enemies. So this means you can use it on, like charge and other similar things like that, where, maybe you want to make a build around something that's not a core skill.
It'd actually be really good on Rogue.
Or it's just going to proc more often, and you just play normally. Second thing you'll notice is on the left it says Barbarian only. We just removed that restriction.
Wait,
so now any class that can use a sword can use Azurath. Again,
so that's what, Necro sword?
Restrictions, and when we
Dude, that's awesome. This is so huge. I literally just said that. That's crazy.
I'm really excited about on the Rogue. I think I'm going to play a Rogue this season. So on the left is the old version where it says when you break stealth with an attack, you can drop stun grenades, right? And then those grenades deal damage and stun enemies. On the right, we've removed a lot of these restrictions and made it more useful. So now it's when you enter or break stealth, and you don't need to break stealth when you attack. So anytime that you cast stealth or go into stealth, you're going to get 2 sets of these, and it's just going to be
concealment, that would be kind of cool.
Stun grenades. You also notice that this is a tuning thing, but the stun duration on stun grenades has been buffed. It's a second now. And then we also did a thing that I'm really excited about here, where every single stun grenade legendary will increase the damage of your grenade skills, and all of them are going to have this.
I wonder if this is actually going to be pretty busted.
Grenade build, if you collect, the 4 or 5 of these legendaries that kind of combo together, every one is going to incrementally increase your grenade damage. Like
200x damage.
They'll be doing a lot more meaningful damage.
I'm going to wait and see if we get some good numbers on that, because that could actually be a brand new build.
All right, last but not least, we've got hardcore updates. For you hardcore players, Elixir of Death Evasion is being removed from the game. It's dying, and it's not coming back, just like you will in hardcore. We've also redesigned the Flame Shield enchantment. So before, it used to be a cheat death mechanic where when you took fatal damage, it would proc and save you. Now it's going to automatically activate when you lose a certain amount of life, and then it has an internal cooldown on that. So we've heard from the community kind of loud and clear. They really want hardcore to be hardcore, and so we're going to deliver on that. Now you actually have to be careful. The Sanctuary is a very scary place, and you won't have those fail safes to keep you alive anymore.
Okay. Oh,
and finally, PTR feedback. So like we mentioned before, we're going to be looking at the PTR feedback very carefully. Please let us know what you think. The class team is particularly excited about what's working for you and what's not working for you. When you're kind of tuning your feedback and typing it to us, we're really looking at things like tuning and balance. We know that things are going to be pretty wacky in this brave new world that we're going into.
No, I think this is
We're
awesome.
also looking for what changes really made the game more fun to you. You're going to see
I'm so excited about PTR, man.
What I presented today. We really want to know what changes we did, maybe didn't hit the mark, and why. You know, maybe we didn't go far enough, or this thing could have been a little.
I want to see new bosses though, like with all this power.
What would you like to see that didn't make it in? Right? We're forever going to be updating this game, and we really want to know. You know, a lot of these changes are coming from your feedback, like, you know, flat damage scaling, unstoppable coming on the golem for necromancers who've been wanting more sources of it. You know, what other things are you seeing that, you know, have always kind of bugged you or have always been kind of a pain point that you would like us to change? And we'll be looking for that feedback. So yeah, that's pretty much everything we got for classes. Thanks everybody again.
Yes.
All right.
Excited.
Huge W's. Like that was an awesome presentation for classes. So that's it for the classes.